Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna walk you through what growing your audience really means and like what are some of the misconceptions that lead people to believe, oh, I'm growing my audience, but then why am I not getting more engagement? Why am I not getting more likes? Why am I not getting more sales, even though I'm growing my audience? And usually the answer is you're not actually growing your audience. We're going to discover 5 ways, not 3 ways, to do it without sounding or looking desperate or doing anything sleazy because so many of you guys, not you specifically, but people who buy my programs come to me and say, like, I really want to have a successful launch, but all my coaches are telling me to like desperately post in Facebook groups and try and recruit people from there or send random spammy messages on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And that just doesn't work. I mean, granted, it's going to work if you do it to 1,000 people. 1% of them will probably say yes, but that's not how we do business here. So, when can you actually say that you have grown or are growing your audience? I remember a few years ago, somebody came to me and she said, I just got 30,000 views on my YouTube video. I've grown my audience like crazy. So, I'm totally going to sell out this next launch. So, my first question was, okay, so how many of them did you convert? She's like, convert into what? I didn't sell anything. It was just a free video to lead people to subscribe to my channel. And I was like, great. How many subscribe to your channel? 20. So it's like, no, these 30,000 views mean absolutely nothing except a little bit of authority because it's always great to have 30,000 views. But some of these people watched a 16-minute video for, a minute and then tuned out because they got bored. So all that matters is how many of them became subscribers because they have now made the choice to stay in your world and to be part of your active audience, hopefully. So yeah, video views, comments, likes. Well, unless we're talking about page likes on Facebook, which is different, but likes on posts don't really mean anything. Shares are great, but again, not audience growth, neither are messages. I know this is basic stuff, but just want to be completely clear. Um, again, basic stuff, but this is audience growth. So, followers, subscribers, page likes, basically anybody who takes the deliberate action to click a button that says, yes, I want to keep staying in this person's world. This person is awesome. I want to keep following them. They don't do that, you lost them because they were just one of your views, if that makes sense. These are, at least for me personally, I believe the best methods for growing your audience. There is more. I will show you more in a bit, but these are the main ones I use. You absolutely do not have to use paid advertising, and you probably shouldn't. If I could go back, I don't think I would start until I hit at least 10K a month because I tried sooner than that, and that was one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my business was trying to advertise too soon. Just lost more than $20,000, hired all the wrong people, and I didn't have that money to lose. So not great overall. So validate your offers first. Get to a nice monthly income where you feel comfortable. You feel like, okay, if I put away like 10K for this in the next 3 months to just test ads, I'm good with losing them. If you feel like that, then you're good. If you're terrified of losing it, then you're not good. Same goes for investing in anything, really. So, yeah, content, live videos are huge on every platform. Even LinkedIn has live videos now, though you do have to apply for them. If you haven't, do it now. They're experiencing a massive like influx of applications at the moment. So, the sooner the better. Podcasts are crucial. Joint ventures are more optional. You do need to have a lead magnet. Multiple ones do work best, but start with one. So, for example, let's say somebody invites you to a podcast interview. What 99% of the people do is the interview ends, oh, good, going home. Instead, what you should do is ask in advance the person who's interviewing you, hey, I would love to share this free gift with your audience. They're going to say yes. Only a fool doesn't. And then what you do is you give them the link, they share it with their audience, and you get a ton of hopefully new email subscribers. At the very least, what if you just get 20 new subscribers from that? I mean, that's great. That's 20 potential customers in the near future. So do that every single time you're interviewed anywhere. But ask in advance, don't just pitch it during the interview. That's important. Something that works really well is creating a signature show. something that I've been meaning to do for ages because multiple of my clients have done it. My coach has it and it works really well. Should I create a Facebook group for what I teach? I created mine in the very beginning. I think it was 2016. Since then, multiple rebrands, changed the name like 4 times, cover photo, everything. Has about 4,000 people in there. It makes me sales. It definitely is engaged when I try because, like everybody, I tend to forget to be consistent. But it is a pretty incredible thing to have because the people who comment under your posts on like your wall or your business page or on other platforms, they're lacking a unified place to come together and talk to each other. Like fine, they can talk to you, but there's no semi-safe space, right? That's what a Facebook group can be, especially if you teach something sensitive like about sex or addiction or anything like that. They would definitely value it a lot. So think long and hard. It doesn't hurt to try. It doesn't have to take up like 20 hours a week to run a Facebook group at all. I barely keep touch with mine, but even when I do remember to start a discussion or to run a poll, people are engaged, which is great. But that's because they are relevant people, which we're going to discuss in step two. So, 5 steps to audience explosion. Most people start with just aggressively growing their audience, right? But they forget the first 2 steps, which to me are actually the most important ones. We need to begin with evaluating our existing audience. Like if you're not getting a lot of engagement, if you're not getting sales every time you publish a sales post, if you're not getting video views when you share a live video, then something's clearly wrong. It could just be that your audience is very small. But if it's not, if you have more than a couple of hundred people, then you should be getting better results. So we need to really dive into this and you need to ask yourself a few questions. So, or you can ask them a few questions by running a survey. I do these all the time, every quarter. I just finished, I ran a survey a few weeks ago. And in that survey, you can ask all of these, well, not all, but you can ask them, how did you find me? How long ago did you find me? Why do you follow me? Stuff like that. That's really valuable information. So you need to find out because if somebody followed you 5 years ago, then there's a big chance they're not actually relevant to what you're doing right now. It certainly wouldn't be for me. Then let's say they found you. How did they find you? They found you 3 years ago in a book convention for a business you're not into anymore. Maybe you were working for somebody else at the time. Probably not relevant to you right now either. Then ask yourself, how often do I actually send emails to my list? How often do I publish content that actually evokes a discussion, not just an educational post or a I'm so great at what I do post, but a post where people comment and engage in conversation with you and with each other. Like if you don't do these 2, 3 things very often, then your audience is probably not very engaged. And that's the most important thing. Like you have to keep them engaged at all times with conversations. And you have to send emails to your list. This is the toughest thing. And I'm personally not a big fan of email marketing, but I do it. And I do it consistently because, well, your email list is your most valuable asset. Mine is quite small compared to my social media presence. And it took me ages to grow it because I started way too late. I didn't start until I was probably 2 years into my business, and I only took it seriously last year. So please don't be me. Email your list at least once a week, but ideally it should be more often. Don't hate me, but I'm a big fan of the daily email. I sit down once a week and I schedule them 7 days in advance. You can just take them directly from your social media posts. Preferably don't publish the same thing on social media on the same day that you're going to send to your email list because that's just lazy. But you can still reuse your social media posts. Nothing against that. Repurposing for the win. At least once a week. Start with once a week. If you have 20 people on your email list right now, doesn't matter. Start emailing them. Okay, so we need to evaluate your existing audience. So let's imagine now you have the answers to this. So now you're thinking, okay, my audience is not really relevant. What do I do now? If it's relevant, great. If it's not really relevant or completely irrelevant to what I do, then we need to ditch the irrelevant audiences. But the key here is to not spend a ton of your time doing it. Like a lot of people make these special dignified posts on Facebook being like, oh, I've reached 5,000 friends. Now I'm going to start deleting people. Like, you don't have to waste your time doing that. It's much better if you make them take the choice, give them the choice, basically. So one of the things, and I've actually been seeing this happen because I've received probably half a dozen emails in the last 6 months by people who've changed their direction and they sent me this email. So basically, it's an email that says, "Hey, so this is my new focus. I'm gonna be emailing you about this now. I'm really passionate about it. Do you actually want to get these emails, or do you want to opt out? Like, it's totally fine by me, basically. So if you don't click, they're not gonna send you emails." So you create a simple email campaign, or ideally send them 2 or 3 emails, because many people won't even see the first one. And just make sure you tell them, okay, 24 hours left until you confirm that you don't want to receive emails from me. And then add them to a completely new list called active email subscribers, basically. And from now on, just email them. In terms of the public eye, there's two types of rebranding. You can do a silent one where you just overnight start posting the new content, the new direction, or you can do a public rebranding where you make an announcement on social media, same way as an email. I'm doing this, unfollow me if it's not relevant to you. So when do you do which? If your new direction is completely irrelevant to the audience that is there already, make an announcement and give them the choice to unfollow you. And yes, only send emails to those who joined the new list. Don't want to piss people off. People get very nasty when they get spam emails, man. The things I've seen. Once we've done that, finally, we can breathe and the hard work begins. So now we divide and conquer. So we start with I don't know if you guys have much experience with email lists. Mine is still pretty basic, but you can segment people there. Like there's tags that you can use and stuff like that for different people. So for example, you can send somebody an email who bought something from you, and you'll say, hey, I just want, you bought my copywriter's playbook, so I'm just curious, click here if you are in the very beginning stage of your journey and just learning about copywriting, and click here if you actually done some work already and you're like have the basic foundational knowledge. Then what happens is the people who click on the first one now receive a tag said beginner. The other ones intermediate or something. Now you can send them emails based on how much they've progressed in what they're learning, which makes this so valuable because that allows you to target people better. This is a bit more advanced stuff, but at some point you're going to start looking at this and be thankful for this. So I just want to put it out there. I rarely do it, but when I do, it's really powerful. So, for example, for me, I could separate people into haven't started my business yet. I've started my business, but not made more than 10K, or I'm making 10K a month plus. And then I can send them content based on that. Because each of these people requires a totally different expertise in a way to keep growing. With blog posts, it's the same. You can have different blog posts. So one of them targets people who are in this stage of their journey. They're all your ideal clients. We're just segmenting them here. So they all have the same worldview. They all have the same goal. They all want to achieve this. Don't always try to target everybody in the same piece of content. That can be confusing to people. Like I'm not gonna create a post and go, okay, so here are 3 tips for you on growing your business. Number one, if you're just starting out, do this. No, I would dedicate a separate post for each segment. As long as they are all your ideal clients and it's not a totally separate audience. This is really important. Now, how do we grow then? Right? Because so far we have found out how to figure out if our audience even cares about us, if it's relevant or not. We found out how to ditch them, some simple steps you can take as soon as today. And we found out how to segment them a little bit and how to cater to different segments at the same time, not at the same time, but close. So now how do we actually grow? 2 ways. People usually start with the earned ones, but I want to start with the borrowed ones because I just want to, this is more important, I think, because when you start with the earned audience, that's essentially It requires that you have no contact with anybody else. You just create your content, create your videos, do this, do that, and it's great. But when you borrow audiences, that actually requires you to be reaching out, to be pitching yourself, to be active in this audience growth stuff. And this is where people fail the most. Even I've had these periods where I become complacent and I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I have my audience. I can just keep creating awesome content. And I forget that you can never stop. Truly. I mean, yes, at some point you're gonna have ads running and you barely have to do any work in terms of growing your audience. But now when we're organic, we need to put in the work. So guest appearances. How do you ask for a guest appearance without seeming desperate? Whenever I have some spots available, and you can do the exact same thing, and even if you have all of your days available, you can go on social media and you can make a post and you can say, I have 2 slots available this month, 2 time slots available this month for jumping on somebody's podcast. Who wants me to come and drop some gold on your audience about insert topic? Message me. Don't ask them to comment on the post because then we may be faced with the horrible reality of I got no comments and this looks horrible. Always ask people to message you or comment. So when you put it like this, you are approaching this from a place of power instead of from a place of weakness, which is what everybody does. I constantly see people on their walls being, hey, I would love to be on your podcast. Who here has a podcast I can jump on? And that just doesn't exactly build authority. Like, don't be lying to people. Don't be saying, oh man, like I'm super busy. I'm not sure I can spare it. just come from a place of power. Lying is never okay. Then we have Facebook groups. People in Facebook groups are constantly looking for others to come and do trainings. In fact, any of you are welcome to come into my big free group and do a training there, and share your lead magnet to grow your email list. Um, and then Facebook groups. Then we have blogs. I know it's kind of not so popular at this moment. They used to be all the rage a few years ago. Now it's all about Facebook groups and live streaming, but SEO is still quite valuable. And if you find a blog, I used to guest blog all the time, and that led a lot of people back to my website a few years ago when I was seeing myself as a travel blogger. So if you can find blogs that accept, even if they don't say they accept guest experts, just ask. Maybe there's somebody bigger or really big in your niche you want to collaborate with. Just reach out. The worst they can say is no. I mean, who cares? But you should be reaching out all the time for partnerships. But you need to be aware of 2 things. Number one, don't partner up with people where you have nothing to gain. This is the biggest mistake I see with partnerships. I used to see it in my own inner circle, and I there were 2 people who were like, we're gonna partner up, we're gonna sell this course. And I told them, they're not in there anymore. This was 3 years ago. And I told them, don't do this. You're both just beginning. You both have no audiences. You literally have nothing to give to each other at this moment. Please grow alone. And then once a few months have passed and you have something to offer each other, come together. They were like, no. And so they did it, wasted a ton of time creating this sales page and wasted money hiring a copywriter for it, so much time creating this course, and it didn't sell to a single person. And it was only $50. So, I mean, they barely lost any money, but so much time, and time is more valuable. So, partner up with people where everybody gains something. Even if you have a tiny audience right now, maybe they are super engaged though. Micro audiences are very popular right now. Micro influencers on Instagram are killing it. So maybe you have a super engaged audience, even if it's small. People love that. Maybe you have a paid program with only 10 people in it, but they've already paid you $1,000. Well, that's still good. I would come and do a guest expert training, for example. You can also just make a post, just remember, from a position of power, and just ask, hey, does anybody here accept guest posts or group trainings? Let's talk. You're not even saying it's for yourself, but you're putting it out there, and then I guarantee you get some messages. Then, one little trick is Twitter is really good for that. But if you're like me and if you're like, ill Twitter, you can also do it on Facebook, like nodding. Connect to contributors. So, do you want to be on Forbes or Entrepreneur, or any of these platforms? There's two ways to get on there, if we're being fully transparent. Number one, connections that come from networking usually. And number two, you go the illegal, disgusting way and you pay for it, which is what most people do, completely against the rules, which is why they're really chomping down on these features now and barely accepting any. But they are accepting mentions, and all you need to do is be mentioned in this article so you can add it to your bio and build some authority. Um, it hardly means anything in entrepreneurial circles, but it's still, to a lot of people, it does build authority. So connect to contributors. If you see, you can search in the search tab in any platform like Forbes contributor or whatever, and you can send them requests and connect. Then just start engaging. I've scored a lot of stuff that way because I hate pitching myself to things. So what I do is I create epic content. I connect to the right people. I make sure they see my content, and then usually they say, "Hey, like I'm writing this article and I think you're the perfect fit for it. How would you like to be an entrepreneur?" for example. It's not going to happen immediately, but and it doesn't hurt to be a bit proactive. Now, a really valuable way, you're not going to gain a big audience from it, but you're going to gain a very loyal audience, is doing trainings in people's paid communities. Just make sure you vet people um, who you are associating with in any way. Doesn't matter if they're coming to you or you're coming to them. It can really fuck with your authority and your reputation, which is the most valuable asset you have when you don't vet someone. So the most basic thing you can do is just scroll down 3 or 4 or 5 months on their social media posts and see if there's anything shady there. Because I almost accepted somebody to BBS who had a post about it was very racist. Let's just say that, and it was buried 4 months down. But me and my team, we vet every single person very carefully. And now we live in times when I hate the word canceled, but you can get canceled because of who you associate yourself with. Then joint webinars and offers, again, with a grain of salt and be careful who you do it with, but it can be great. I haven't really had a joint offer with anybody. I almost did. Then I backed out because I wasn't sure it was the right time, and it wasn't. Grow to some extent until you get to that point. But joint webinars, those you can do anytime. So that's all I have to say about borrowed audiences. There's a lot more, but I don't want to overcomplicate this process for you guys because it needs to be simple. It needs to be just step one, step two, step three. Probably the most important thing from this slide is reach out to 10 podcasts every week. Honestly, if you ditch everything else and if you just do that, your audience is going to grow very consistently. When I was starting out, I was on a new podcast every few days. I even at some point had an entire day dedicated of the week where all I did was guest expert trainings, podcasts, and stuff like that. I took it really seriously. That's how I grew so fast. Become a little complacent since then, but at some point you can at least afford to do that and chill a bit. So, how the hell do you earn an audience? Well, again, going back to the signature show, maybe you turn it into a podcast eventually. That tends to happen with people. I'm not a big fan of having my own podcast at the moment, but if you can spare the time and if you don't do it just to do it, but you have a strategy, same with Clubhouse, you can make it work really well for yourself. Problem is, most people don't. And I can usually tell when somebody has spread themselves too thin on too many platforms and now they're thinking about starting a podcast, and it's just the worst idea in the world. It is so much easier to just start simple, just go live. You don't even have to have an amazing equipment, an epic setup, because it's live. You don't have to edit, you don't have to do anything except turn the camera on and speak to your audience. So to me personally, there's nothing simpler than live videos. um, so consider that. Eventually, it can become a podcast. And plus, your audience will probably suggest it at one point. I've seen that happen where the audience is like, oh my God, this would be a phenomenal podcast. And you'll see when the time is right. So, why does the signature show help you grow your audience? Because people spread the word. Now that it's on, now that it's its own brand, people spread the word. Other people here, they follow you because of it, especially if you make it interesting. Um, then if you get people to engage with the live video, any live videos really, as often as possible, what ends up happening is, I don't know if you guys know exactly how, for example, the algorithm works on Facebook. I think it's the same way on LinkedIn, where if somebody comments on your live video, then their friends see that they commented on it, and so it pops up on their own feed, and so now they're like, oh, what did Nicole comment on? Let me see this person. Oh, she's great, I'm gonna follow her. So that's why it is crucial to do whatever you can to get people. That's why I'm always saying, give me a 69 in the comments, give me a 3. Where are you watching from? Give me a hashtag sushi, because it keeps, also when replay viewers keep doing it, is the video is gonna keep popping up in people's feeds and they're gonna keep commenting on it. So a good tip I can give you is revive your older videos and content. I just revived a post today about Jay Shetty, or as I like to call him, Jay Shitty, and it's from probably, at least, when did that thing with him happen, when he was exposed? Early last year, I think. And I made a post about it that became super popular, but everybody forgot about it. So yesterday I was like, oh, this was a great experience. And now it popped up in everybody's feed and people started commenting on it yesterday and today, and it's totally revived. So you can do that with your videos, text posts, and it works amazingly. Obviously only do it with things that you really want people to see, like maybe one of them is program you are selling that you're still selling. Maybe it's a keep reviving your lead magnet posts, definitely, where you're promoting the lead magnet. Yeah, get people to engage as often as possible. Come up with your own hashtags, like I do the sushi thing. People are like, what is sushi? Then they see my cats, so it all ties back into the brand. Then CEO is great too. So underused by online entrepreneurs. A tool that I use is called Keywords Everywhere. I think I paid $10 for 100,000 keywords. So what you do is you Google. Let's say you want to see how many hits a month the branding queen gets. So that tool gives you that plus related searches, and it's really, really valuable. So then you can see what's used but not too used. Like if it has 5 million hits, probably you get nowhere. But if it has 100,000, maybe I want to write a blog post, or maybe I want to put that word all over my website so I rank at the top of the first page and people find me. That's what we did with the branding queen, and now I dominate the first 4 results. But when we started, I was on page 5. Nobody could even find me on Google by typing the branding queen. And there's something really powerful about somebody asking you, oh my God, like, how can I find you online? And instead of being like, oh, let me write down my website, my name, you can just be like, oh, type the branding queen in Google. So if you can come up with something like that, it's really powerful. Now, some of you guys don't have a title, you don't call yourself nothing. So we need to change that. And the main reason we need to change that is for SEO, but also probably even more important is people need to be able to call you something. I've had clients who come to me and they're like, but I really don't want to put myself into a box. And the thing is, though, they want to put you in a box and they will do it regardless of what you think. So if you don't do it first, if you don't actually define what the box is, they'll do it for you. They'll control your narrative 100%, and then you have no choice but to submit to whatever people decide you are. Sounds weird, but it's true. So call yourself something. If you're having problems with it, a great research tool is LinkedIn. Just type like whatever keywords you have in mind for what to call yourself. You can go on LinkedIn, type them in the search bar, and then you're going to start finding your competitors essentially. You're going to see exactly what they call themselves, and that will really help you brainstorm. Same goes for the group name. So when people are, let's say I want to find a group about copywriting, what is the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to type copywriting in the search tab on Facebook and choose groups. Then I'm going to choose the one that I can resonate with the most, and also the one that has more people in it. So your group name definitely has to be something straightforward. I know you guys are new to my world, some of you, but you're gonna hear me say all the time how everything you come up with needs to be more straightforward than it is creative, which is not typical for somebody who teaches branding. But I've just seen just seen so many problems arise with people coming up with these super creative titles, creative names for their programs, membership sites, and sometimes it works. Like when you have an established brand and people can relate this phrase or this word to you that is super creative, fine, you can make that happen for sure. But if you're not there yet and you're trying to make it happen too soon, that's not going to work out usually. So try and be straightforward and remember the names of my 5 day challenges. You can still be creative. You can have an awesome, super creative cover photo. You can coin a phrase, start using it there. Eventually, you can even rename your group to it, rename yourself to it. Nothing is permanent. I've noticed in business, we evolve, our brands evolve. Mine certainly has in the last few years, and a lot of things have changed. Reddit and Quora are phenomenal resources. I'm on Quora. I haven't been active in a while, but my content there has about 1 million views already. And I haven't been active in a few months yet. Every month, my answers there get about 5 to 10,000 views because it's the opposite of Clubhouse in terms of your content has longevity. So you really, if you have the time, make 15 minutes a day and start exploring one of these two. Reddit is a bit strange. It's it takes a while to get used to it. Core is pretty straightforward. People ask questions, you provide answers. It's also great for market research. And then something that very few people do is because it takes a bit more time is contests and giveaways. The closest I've come to this is giving all my prizes in my challenges. But and that takes so long to put together that I just don't really do it outside of the challenges. But it would be very valuable for audience growth for sure. Oh my God, people love participating in both. Um, you don't have to give away an expensive or crazy price at all. In fact, it just has to be something that they really need, that they don't necessarily want to spend the money on, for example. It's a great investment in your audience growth, and also it builds brand loyalty because they're like, oh my God, she nailed it, this is exactly what I need, how did she know? They need to take certain actions when they do this giveaway. So you guys have probably seen them on Instagram where it's like, follow me, tag one person in this photo and blah blah blah, and then that post gets a ton of engagement, you get a ton of new people who are all relevant. Though you have to make sure that it only brings relevant people your way, because I've seen some very badly executed giveaways where you just got random people who had nothing to do with what you teach, and not good. Finally, just a few tips what not to do when you are growing your audience. Do not spam people with random friend requests when they're not relevant to you at all. Because when you send someone your friend request, they're going to take a look at you for 5 seconds. And this is where your title really helps. Because when they see you're a business coach, oh, I need that. Okay, I'll follow. I will accept that request. But then when they see you're a sex coach, well, I don't need that. You know, or vice versa, of course. Though if you ask me, everybody needs both. Um, so make sure that your account is very clear, first of all, for those who send you requests and for those you send requests to, but also make sure you don't just be like send. Usually you should have mutual friends. That makes it easier to decide. Don't be too crazy. Some people spend 20 minutes on somebody's account before they decide to send them a friend request. Like that's just a bit too much. If they're not right, you can always unfriend them later, or usually they will, because they'll figure it out too. Then the thing is, when you are, let's say, Facebook works that way, I think LinkedIn works that way, but when you engage with people who are not relevant to you at all, because let's say somebody said something political, right, or COVID related, and you just had to comment, which is usually the case in the last year, what happens is this person's content is going to keep popping up on your feed and yours will pop up for them. That's not ideal. You want your ideal client's content to be popping up to you and yours to them. So make sure you only engage with people who are your ideal clients or potential partnerships, joint ventures, stuff, contributors to publications, stuff like that. This is very important. It's very tempting, especially if you're one of those people who are like, but I use social media accounts for my family. And when you have a business, at some point you got to make a choice in the beginning. Later on, you can always revert back to fine, I'll use my personal Facebook account for my friends. I'm putting tons of money in ads. That's enough. I've also expanded to other platforms. I don't need to be doing business here. That happens later on, a few years. But for now, you got to make the choice of I'm committing to my business. Then the groups thing. So I don't know who started this whole movement of join as many Facebook groups you can, post as much as you can, establish yourself there, and you grow your audience and sell out all your stuff. First of all, it's such a colossal waste of your time when you can be actually working on your content or getting on sales calls, making money, you know. And second of all, you can't really establish yourself in 10 different groups. What you can do though is choose one person's group that has maybe 10,000 people, 20,000 people in it. And you can start posting content there that's valuable. You can start discussions there that are valuable. No pitching, no lead magnet sharing, nothing. That alone will be enough for them to follow you if your content's great. When you choose just one group, it makes it super easy to focus your time there and then on your own platform, your own wall. And after, let's say, a couple of months of you providing super valuable content for it, you can then, the admin has already noticed you for sure. Now you can contact the admin, reach out and say, "Hey, I've been loving your group. I've been sharing a lot of my valuable stuff in there, and people are loving it. I was just wondering, how would you feel about me doing a live training in there on this topic?" No, again, no sharing of nothing, no lead magnets. This is a slow process, but it's an amazing one. Usually they'll say yes, because who would say no to a free training with no pitching? And that's how the relationship begins. And then soon after that, you'll be able to invite them to your challenges, lead magnets. That's I have 4 or 5 people I do this with, where we go into each other's groups every time when we have a launch or a challenge, and we invite people, and it works amazingly because they know that you are recommended by the admin, and so they instantly trust you. Kind of the same with affiliate marketing, really. A lot of people came into this program from affiliate. I ran an affiliate competition for my people, and they brought their own clients in there, and maybe some of you even came from that. Oh, and a lot of people also invite others to their Facebook group as soon as they accept their friend request, because the logics is, well, they accepted my friend request, so obviously they're interested in me, so let me just invite them to my group immediately. Just no, unless you want to end up being publicly shamed in a screenshot of, "Oh my god, this person did that." That is so shady. I've been seeing a lot of those lately. So you can invite them to your group, but start a conversation first, which is right here. Final slide. I encourage sending friend requests. That's how I got, probably to 3,000 friends on Facebook. Um, and just by sending and reaching out, and then at some point it becomes very organic, and you can stop because people are constantly, I think I have 1,000 of them waiting. So that will happen to you as well. I think 20 to 30, there is a limit of how many you can send a day. So chill it, basically. Don't be like, "I'm going to connect to 100 new people today just by sending friend requests." Facebook will block you from either sending them or commenting or stuff like that. So be careful. I think it's 50, but just to be safe, 20 to 30. And then once they accept your friend request, I mean, the best thing to do would be to send them a quick messenger video. Those are just so powerful because they can see you, they can see your eyes, they can see like your facial expressions. It's the same as being on a live video. You build trust very fast. If you're like, "I can't be bothered to put on my makeup," just send a voice note or two. Obviously, don't flood them, because I've had it when I accepted somebody and I received 20 voice note 1 minute long, and I just unfriended them immediately. So that's why videos are usually better, because they're curious. It's like, "Oh, she sent me a video? I wonder what that's about." In that, don't pitch, don't promote anything, don't invite them to the group. Just say, "Hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. I'm so glad to be connected to you. I saw," insert something about them. Look at a post on there. We'll talk about that. Talk about anything that you can see. This becomes a really fast process once you do it 5 times. I promise. It takes like 3 minutes to do the whole thing with one person. And then just ask them a question, basically. Just ask them any open ended question they have to respond to. Don't talk about yourself at all. So, this is key. I receive a lot of these because I never send friend requests, but I accept them when somebody unfriends me, which is like every day. And then they usually send me, either a video or a voice note, and it goes, hey, I'm this and that, and I've achieved that, and I'm interested in that. What about you? And I'm like, this is not speed dating. So you don't talk about yourself at all in the first message. Only talk about them, boost their ego, play into that. They're going to ask you about yourself. You will get to talk about yourself. That will come. If you really want to form, yeah, it's a bit desperado. If you really want to form a connection with a potential client, then do it right. Oh, and there's the group tip. Rushed it on that one, apparently. But yeah, I did that with one group back in the day. I ditched it some time ago, but I got so many clients in there. It was Arnie Giski's group. He interviewed me there once when it was at about 40 or 30,000 people. And I think that's when my email list grew with 500 people after one live stream. It was crazy. But, to get to that point, you got to form the relationship first. And yeah, and don't be afraid to ask for stuff. Don't be afraid to ask to share your lead magnet after a while. Just not on the first try, of course. And with that, we are done.